Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF Everything in That Shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF Everything. Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben.
on Spoiled Rotten.
On that shelf.
Boom. We're doing The Suicide Squad.
Yes.
2021's The Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Now, right off the bat, we're calling it just sequel, right? Because there's no point saying it's a reboot. I mean, it's continuing the same storyline. It's a sequel, right?
I don't care.
It's just like that's the whole
another
point.
movie. Yeah,
Like,
what?
It's the whole point of the Suicide Squad. It's like, yeah, expendable characters, keep going. It doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to be Amanda Waller, and we got that. And
Yeah.
same characters.
I don't care about
it's the first one. Perfect.
whether or not it's a sequel or not.
Mhm.
It's just a movie.
But I mean, just
I
for the
say that
record,
because DCEU is doing whatever they want. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not invested in trying to like look at it like the MCU anymore. It's just Warner Brothers put out another movie with DC characters.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
and
I-
brand new DC characters. Yay.
Oh yes, they brought in some new ones. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really well done. Just right before we recorded, I was like, oh, okay. I actually feel better about a certain scene that really bothered me.
Mhm.
Now that I think this is the case. I don't know how far deep it goes, but I do think the movie is about using people until they're not useful to you anymore.
Correct.
That obviously makes sense with how expendable the characters are in this, but I think it works on many levels throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Just on the whole, using people till they're not useful. And we'll get to the thing that kind of bothered me in the moment, but I think
Mm.
is still a part of that that theme
Yeah.
of people being comfortable using certain people, and then when they're not
Yeah.
useful anymore, being like, get them out of here, let's just destroy it.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
But I heavily do, because I watched that scene. I've just been analyzing for the past 24 hours, and I'm like, there's parts of it where I'm like, this is great. Wait, was it? And
I
yeah,
don't
well,
think it's
well,
great.
well,
I think it
yeah.
still works within the themes, so
Mhm.
it doesn't feel as awkward. But anyway, yeah, so basically
Mhm.
this movie, people haven't heard our Suicide Squad from 2016 episode yet, but you said you didn't like that one because there was too many like intros and everything, and I feel like this movie just jumps right in. We
Yes.
start with Savant. He gets initiated so they can show you the whole, we put microchips in you that can blow up.
Mhm.
You get to see all of that, and then they're right off to the mission right away. And it is the same mission the whole time. It's not, well, we see different levels of the mission, but it's the same location and the same targets. Basically, it's not like, oh, that
Yeah.
was just some other mission and now we're going to do something else.
Yeah, it's all in service of one overall thing. It's not like here's a side thing that's happening in
Right.
parallel. It's a completely separate. It's like this one entirely same thing. I mean, like, you could argue that there's two things going on in parallel, but I mean, I would argue it's
that's
just
the
one.
nature of-
Yeah, I would argue it's just
it was
one
always the same
mission from
objective.
Amanda Waller. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
just
same objective. It's just, and I think even in that they did what I know Suicide Squad to be, which is create a
Mhm.
distraction and
Mhm.
then have the
real
Suicide
mission.
Squad actually go do. So in
Yeah.
this case, it was just the distraction was a different Suicide Squad. So anyone
Yeah.
who's seen the trailers sees the lineup that has Michael Rooker's Savant, like Captain Boomerang, Pete
Mhm.
Davidson's Blackguard, Nathan Fillion is TDK, Mongal. Weasel, all of those people are all in the same. And then yeah, Rick Flag and Harley are on the plane with them, and they're flying out.
Mhm.
So they're going to Corto Maltese,
Mhm.
which is a made up country. That makes sense. They make up places all the time in DC.
Mhm.
Things it helps avoid some of the sociopolitical stuff, but
Yeah,
it
but it
is a
doesn't
made up
help that it's
country.
like, yeah, but it doesn't help that it's like, oh, here's you're trying to draw direct parallels here, and it's like for real world impact. I'm like, it's a funny place to be, but I'm like, I see where they're coming from.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
they're being sent there. Do they? They think they're just taking out an army, right?
No, they know they're because the debriefing was like you're taking out Project Starfish.
Oh, I thought
And I
they were
don't
just taking out. I thought the second team was just taking out Project Starfish. I think it only works if one team's like, yeah, we're gonna take on these people, because they were like, wait,
Mhm.
why are there so many people here? That's not what we were
Right,
intending to do, and
because
that's part of Amanda Waller's
yeah, because it's
whole
the
thing.
flashbacks that tell a different story of
Yeah,
like,
that
oh,
is
this
a
team
part I
was
didn't
briefed
like.
properly, this team wasn't briefed properly, and all
Mhm.
this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's in the flashbacks where it's like, oh, okay, this it's funny. It's just it's really, really, really well done the way it's got there.
Yeah,
I
I
like it.
didn't like the whole jumping back and forth, because I feel like
Mm.
it lost momentum for me, because I'm like, we're going back. Oh, we're
Hmm.
going back. I it's the same problem I had with Birds of Prey. The
Mhm.
like doing that, and I understand in both cases it's to disorient you the way those characters have been disoriented. It just
Yeah,
I don't I don't think it's the strongest way of doing things, but
yeah.
I'm sure it works for other people. But yeah, so they go there, they get killed off. Well, they're presumed to be killed off, which is fine with Amanda Waller, because she's got her real team, which
Yep.
is Bloodsport, Polka Dot Man, King Shark,
Mhm.
um,
Peacemaker or
Peacemaker,
Peacekeeper?
and
Is it
Ratcatcher.
Peacemaker? Yeah, Ratcatcher.
Peacemaker and
Yeah,
Ratcatcher
Ratcatcher
too.
2.
Yes. So that's the real team, and they're
Yeah,
going in to take out Jotunheim,
yeah.
which is where Project Starfish is, with an addition. I'll just say it here, with the additional thing of Peacekeeper knowing that there is information there that ties the U.S. government to Project Starfish. So he is
Yeah,
there to make sure that never gets out.
yeah.
Um,
He's there to
we don't
keep
know
the
that in the
peace.
moment, but
Yeah,
that's what he's there
that's the
for.
big reveal. Yeah, he's the second agent, and that's just Amanda Waller covering bases and all
Yes.
that.
So
And yeah,
I appreciated that. So
Mhm.
in that I was like, yeah, this, like I said during our Suicide Squad episode, it seems like this it, and I was right. James Gunn understood what a Suicide Squad movie should be.
Absolutely.
Uh
He gets it right off the bat.
yeah, it's clear he gets it. I do. I like the pacing. I shouldn't say pacing. I like how creative it feels. I like how fun it feels. Um and it's funny as well. So that all
Oh
works
god,
for me.
yeah. Because the thing I like, because right when they get to the beach scene, because it feels like you're actually attached to these characters
Mhm.
enough, or you feel like there's going to be enough of a backstory being told later through these cutback scenes once you know there's being cutback scenes being told, right? Like you feel like, oh, okay, maybe this wasn't a significant part of the mission that they were doing. Maybe they did something significant before. And it's just like you kind of get to know characters a little bit. You think you would, but then
Mhm.
you actually ultimately don't. And you're like, yeah, it speaks, it further adds to the ruthlessness of the Amanda Waller character
Mhm.
in this one. And it's just like levels on top of levels on top of levels. And I really appreciated that here.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the right away where they've built up Weasel in the commercials of like, oh, like we're gonna figure it, but it's like as soon as they drop them, it's like, did anyone check to see if Weasel can swim? And it's like, nope, he can't, he's dead. Well, in that section, because obviously later in the movie you realize he's not. But yeah, he dies right away, which I thought was very interesting. I really liked the Blackguard death of them being like, "What are you doing? What are you stop?" And he's like, "No, like it's me. I'm the one who contacted you guys." And it's like, it's what we talked about. It's like a member of the team trying to like work in their best interest and screw everybody over, but instead of getting someone else killed, he gets himself killed like right away. They shoot his face off, and you're like, amazing. Like this is, yeah, it gives you exactly what you need out of a Suicide Squad movie. There's not enough time, and I can see how like with the characters that we have in the second group, you feel a bit more attached. And it does get into that whole thing of, well, are these bad guys? Because they're acting like good guys. But at least with this first section, you don't have enough time with any of these people to be like, why are they doing the what? There should like there's not enough time for any conflict really. It's just the very immediate thing of they need to like run for their lives right now. And you see how expendable, like I felt like it was pretty clear Captain Boomerang was going to die, but I've seen some reviews that are like, holy shit, they took out Captain Boomerang. And I'm like, yeah, like that's a good move to like take someone from the first movie and be like, and they're out. Well, I guess they took two people out from the first movie, but I think you're right that the plane or like whatever, the transportation scene is used way more effectively for you to get on board with these people. And then as they go away, you do feel something for the people that go.
I think one of the things that's very, very effective of that scene is how powerful the imagery is of like the transportation, the beach, and all this kind of stuff. It brings to mind like lots of different movies, you know, like lots of war movies, especially with the jungle backdrop. And he does it so well with the superhero characters too, because it's just like, yeah, what can you guys do? Everyone has that little bit of a moment if they get a chance to, and then it's just like, okay, yeah, that's really cool and it's funny, but then you see the immediate punishment and the real world payoff too, and that brings a level of hilarity to it. It's just like, oh, you were caught and they literally just didn't know what to do with you because that was your power, and that's a really big nuisance of a power. So sure, we'll be on the Suicide Squad, you'll be a part of the expendable members, but realistically we'll just take your guns and shoot your arms just because they're detached from your body. That was hilarious.
I did like that. Like, yeah, he takes his arms off. It's set up like, oh, we're talking about TDK at this moment, like that. It's like, oh, it's set up like, oh, he's gonna do something good here, and it's just the equivalent of him like flustering the bad guys by like smacking them a bit, and like the bad guys just, or not even the bad guys, I shouldn't say the bad guys, the people defending their country are like, yeah, fuck this guy, and then shooting the arms, which incapacitates him, which I thought was very cool. That like obviously he feels all of it, so it's like bleeding out through his arms basically. I didn't even really know what Savant did, but I like that it's still kind of centered through him. Like it's like his experience and him like realizing, oh, like we're fucked. Like he doesn't even try to do anything. Like he saves or tries to save Weasel at the beginning, but it's kind of just like, oh, like we're done. Like we're not making it out of this. Yeah. And then he tries to leave and they blow his head up. So you get all of the Suicide Squad stuff you would want and right in that first like 5-7 minutes, which very effective use of that time.
Very, very, very effective use of the homages to, like, to me, Saving Private Ryan and like Game of Thrones, where it's like, hey, you think it's about Ned Stark, you think it's about Savant, and nope, he's gone immediately. And you're like, this is great. This is so great. They're using people, using them literally as transition pieces to propel the story.
Yeah, using people until they're not useful anymore.
Exactly.
I think that all plays. So then, yes, then it cuts to the real team that we stick with pretty much for the rest of the movie. And it's kind of like Idris Elba being like, all right, what do you got for us, Amanda? And then it cuts back to when she recruited him. And I had a lot of fun with this recruiting scene. Like she, like the way she describes Bloodshot and then, Bloodsport. I'm sure I'll say Bloodshot a million more times than this, but the way she describes Bloodsport, and then by the time she's describing Peacemaker, I was just like, am I crazy? Or like, and then he calls it out. I was like, that was the moment the movie won me over, when Bloodsport was like, are you having a laugh? Like, you said that we were chose to be unique things. He does exactly what I do. And she's like, He's like, obviously we're not unique. And I think that's him realizing then obviously we're expendable. One of us is expendable. If you've said we all have unique powers, but he does exactly what I do and has the exact you describe me the exact same way you describe him.
Yeah, the exact same way as like he from birth, from the
Mhm.
birth bit, from like can turn anything into a weapon,
Mhm.
or anything can be lethal in his hands and everything like that. And he instantly calls was like, "Hey, that's literally what you said about me." It's so effective.
And it
It's
just sets
so
up
damn
this
effective.
great competition. Like I love everything to do with Bloodsport and Peacemaker
Yeah.
throughout the movie.
Like to me, it evokes that like competition between Deathstroke and Rick Flag in the first one much better, because it's like, no, you got there's actually
Deadshot.
like yeah, Deadshot. Why did I say Deathstroke? Oh yeah, well yeah,
Yeah.
Deadshot and Rick Flag. It evokes that like brotherly tension competition dynamic so effectively, and I think it's just like I think it's kind of clear now that like James Gunn kind of brings his own like even his own brother and like probably
Mhm.
his childhood conflict kind of into that storytelling bit, and I think it's
I
really
didn't see that
effectively
as
done.
I didn't see that as brotherly at all. I think the Rick Flag and Deadshot
Mhm.
is more of a competing brothers, or at least pushing to like get the best out of each other.
Right.
Very clearly, them together is the most destructive thing ever. It is not a good thing that they're
Mm.
together. They took out a whole group of innocent people that would probably help them in an effort to one up each other.
Mhm.
That is not a brotherly thing.
That's
That
true.
is exactly the type of dick like measuring contest that ruins the world. That is what that is.
That is entirely true.
Yeah.
Yep,
I
that's true
I
because that
definitely
scene
think that
is
that was it's and I like that because it is showing that these aren't the good guys. Like you might be having
Mhm.
fun with what they're doing, but they are being destructive and hurting people.
Yeah.
It is way less of a like, we got to do the right thing. It's just like, yeah, you can get swept up in the fun they're having, but they're being horrible people.
Yeah, because the the instant decision is death for other people. Like that's their decision. Like the easiest way to get out is like kill everyone,
Mhm.
right? Rick Flag is having some tea with the resistance leaders. Like, hey, these guys saved me. It was like no
Well, they're all gone.
consideration. Yeah, there's no consideration of any other option. It's like, hey, let's do some recon. Like, let's see what this is all about.
But
If
that's good
Rick
because they're
Flag,
the
yeah,
villains. Like, why
yeah,
would they do that? Like,
I
it's just
know.
like this is what we do, and
Mhm.
we're gonna do it well. And it's
And
a great sequence,
yeah,
but it's just like, yeah, like you just killed off a group of people that could have helped you.
yeah, and you killed off people that were objectively fighting for good and against corruption. And I'm like,
But that is exactly what
that's exactly, yeah, they're bad guys.
Amanda Waller wants.
Yeah,
This is what I'm saying. Like that connection is to
yeah.
force themselves to do the bad things they need to do.
Mhm.
It wasn't about a connection at all. It was just
Mhm.
like put these two elements together, they will destroy everything. And
Mhm.
they'll be so distracted with one upping each other, they won't realize what they're actually a part of.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, all of that, I really liked that element of Viola Davis as Amanda Waller in this. There
Mhm.
was I feel like she's still good in the first one of my favorite parts of the first one, but in this one it's just like, yeah, you're seeing way more of it's way more clear where she is manipulating people, as well as how smart she is and how like
Mhm.
thought out everything is on her end.
Yeah, because she is much more comfortable in her role as the Suicide Squad shot caller. You know what I mean? She's like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable this time. We got to accomplish the first one. That's why I'm like, I'm not calling this a reboot or whatever. I'm like, this is just this is Suicide Squad 2, but however people want to call it, because it's the same character but even better. So it's building in that sense, and I'm like, I love it. Amanda Waller showing us the same continuity, but more intense and more comfortable, and I like that. It's great.
Um, well, I wouldn't. Yeah, something was brought up in a review I saw where I was just like, yeah, that is an inconsistency in it that would be fine if this was an actual reboot, which
Mm,
is we went from the Amanda Waller that shot up a bunch of people that she thought would get in the way
mhm.
of what she needed to do to Amanda Waller that gets hit over the head with a golf club and then just sits and stews about it. So
To be fair, my argument is this Amanda Waller was nowhere near the crime or like the conflict area. The first one she was, and it was just like all about no, get me out and all this kind of stuff. These people were brought in way
no,
before,
it's the
way
same
above their.
situation. She's in a room of people that are actively not on the same page as her. So
No,
she
but
shot them up, and in this one, she still tried to work with them.
okay, but this is my argument. Okay,
No, I heard what you
and
said. Like, I heard what you said. I'm just like, it's the same thing. It's
I don't think it's the same thing though, because if this is a reboot, then that is an inconsistency. But if this is a
not a, you mean
continuation,
sequel, right?
if this is a no, if this my point is if this is a sequel, it means that she brought in people that were of this pay grade, which means these people were indispensable on some level to her. And because of the fact that she had no way of telling who was the one that actually knocked her out, she was just like, okay, well, I can't just trust these people, and something's working, something's brewing up. We know that. But in the heat of the moment, she just didn't kill them all because the mission still needed to be done. So, or like need to be finished, or she negotiated her way out of it, or something like that. But either way, it was just one of those things of I think a lot of what this movie is doing too, even within the bad guys, the Suicide Squad, is testing morality limits and all that kind of stuff. It's like where are the limits for people, and for the team, having that opening scene of being like, haha, this is a hilarious way of introducing us to some of the squad without being like, boom, 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 here are their stats on screen. It's a very, very, very effective way of just really reeling that in of this is a sequel, I think.
I don't.
I do think because it proves that Amanda Waller's brought more people in, of the pay grade, more indispensable. I think it does.
I don't see the distinction. So what I see what if your argument is she is someone who is like I can't do that again. That's a better argument than she brought in
Yes,
people of a pay grade because
but
that
that's what
doesn't
I
mean
mean.
anything to
That's why the
Kyle.
first people
That doesn't
were
mean anything to Amanda Waller.
indispensable.
She can always get more people of that pay grade. If these people aren't playing along, she'll get rid of them. Is what I'm saying is the first Amanda Waller. Like it's not like these were the last three people she had to work with. There's a bunch of people who work there. She could get more people. My point is, if this was a reboot, then you're just resetting where her limits are versus the first
Yes.
movie where it was very clear, like what she tells to the guy in this movie, you have no idea what I'm willing to do. We didn't
Right.
get to actually see her act on any of that. She actually got um
Kind of
actually more
did though.
sidelined. She had way more autonomy and power in the first one, if that's what you're going on. So that's why I'm saying I don't get what you mean by since it's a sequel, this makes sense. Because it's like then we're degrading her. We're
No,
saying she feels less empowered in this because it's like, well, I gotta work with these people, as opposed to the Amanda Waller in the first one, who was like, I don't need to work with any. You're all out because you're all not doing what I need to do.
mhm. So this one, the argument is that she's held back. Is that correct? I just don't feel that way. I feel like she was held back because physically she had to be held back because the rest of the team was like morally, yeah, she's gone too far. If
Mhm.
the Suicide Squad,
But
it
before
has
that, she's
completed
in
the
the
mission.
room actually trying to negotiate with them, which I'm saying was not a factor in the first movie. She
Mm,
didn't try to negotiate with anybody there to be like, okay, like here's what we're gonna do. She's just like, you're all dead because I know it's not gonna go that way.
You know what? I think that's a valid point there.
Yeah.
I think
But that's
that's a
what I've
very
been saying the
valid
whole
point.
time.
Damn.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. If you were saying in this sequel, we are
Mhm.
meeting an Amanda Waller that's like, I would never do that again. I think that's a downgrade. But if we're saying this is a reboot, then it's fine because it doesn't really matter what happened in that first one because this
See,
is the Amanda Waller we're dealing with.
when you say the I would never do that again, are you meaning killing the whole team because they're
Yes.
unqualified to be at that pay grade? Or
Okay,
I
stop
would never
getting
do
worried
that
about the
again?
pay grade and start worrying about what they're willing to do in that room in that moment. And that is what we're arguing, not about who's at a pay grade. It's about, can you work with these people effectively to get done what you need to be done? No, they're dead. Yes, let's keep going. Fair that enough. Is all I'm talking about.
Fair.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about the pay grade. It's what we're talking about, using people until they're useful.
Because I'm just thinking about but I'm just thinking about the first one, how she tried to justify killing off the team, how ruthlessly she killed off her own team. It's like, oh, they were never supposed to be up here in the first place. And then this one, they're like,
I know that's why you're caught up on the pay grade, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter, because the point is those were people that were going to get in her way, and she knows she can get. It's easier to shoot the people in the room than it is to, like, I guess. I mean, it's all the same. She can push the button, but the whole point of Amanda Waller is she's above all of that. Like, she's not worried about what team she's going to. She says, again, if you're saying this is a sequel, she said in the first one, you see friends, I see leverage. If you don't have leverage over these people, they got to go.
Yeah. I mean, she is that person, but like, it's just, I question, like, I just feel like whether or not she's playing the game with just the Suicide Squad people or her own team. And at that point, after they clonked her on the head, I feel like, she would definitely be playing it on her own team at that point, because it's like, now I can't trust anyone versus
but you have to remember, before she gets hit on the head, she's already at odds with them. That's how the getting clocked on the head thing works. So what I'm saying is, I guess we'll just talk about it now. Mm-hmm. What makes me okay with that is, and this is where I don't know how deep James Gunn is going with his writing here, but to have a Black woman in that much power over this predominantly white group, history shows us you can only get so powerful before white people decide, even if they're not at your level, we got to take that back down. So that makes sense to me. And I think it's even more important that it was the Black woman that knocked her out and took her out, because that also is a thing. Let's get the Black person to take them out.
Oh, I know. Yeah, for sure.
So that's what I'm saying is, if this movie is about that whole segment is still a part of that theme. This whole segment 100%. Of she was useful to us because she got us, but now she's taking it too far for our sensibilities. We're not comfortable for this anymore. That's not useful anymore. Because let's get rid of her.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's just the sensibilities of the room, and the sensibilities of the room in that room particularly are still white. You know, like everyone's like, yeah, there's a limit. I'm all uncomfortable with this, and it's like, you know, that kind of like camaraderie, and then forced the Black woman to do it, to be like, okay, I'll do the thing that has to be done.
I mean, she steps up, so that's why I'm saying I don't know where James Gunn was going fully with that. I understand that in general this fits into his theme. I was mapping how white people treat Black people in power.
Correct.
And when they feel like, all right, this has gone too far. Again,
there's too much
when they're
change.
Not at the same level as Amanda Waller.
Yeah, it's like,
so all of that speaks to me.
Whatever it is. Yeah,
all of that speaks to me, but I don't know that is something that James Gunn would actively approach in that way. I think he just sees this as, well, this is another dictator that we have to topple, because we see it throughout the movie. There's multiple dictators in quotation marks that get taken out from people who are like, I've had enough. So thematically, I think this all fits in there. At first I was just like, that's weird, but I think that is all a part of it. It's just, it would be even better if that was commentary even further in terms of race relations.
And do you think it was, though? Because that's something I was heavily thinking, I was heavily thinking about that, whether or not it was. Because to me, what James Gunn, would he be writing in that? Because this movie is so clever in all those other ways, and there's so many other ways that he's displaying that kind of commentary. But is he specifically doing it here? Or is it just the optics of everything? He's just aware, is like, hey, I can't have anyone that's white doing this.
I think it's more that. But as I said, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And it's an interesting discussion, right?
Yeah.
But it is something that I noticed. I'm like, I've seen this playing out too recently in politics locally.
Yeah,
and it's
like the Green Party and stuff.
Exactly. I can't help but not see the parallels there, but I'm pretty sure that James Gunn probably wasn't thinking of Ontario-based politics.
Well, you don't need to think about just Ontario. It's happened
Exactly.
all over the world and in
Oh,
the
correct.
States. Like it is a
Absolutely.
trope, right? Like it's a trope
Yes.
that it's like, oh well, no, I shouldn't say trope. It's just a thing that happens with
Mhm.
Americans where they're like, they put people of color in power, and then they're like, too much power. Actually,
Yeah,
I don't like that.
because it's like, okay, it's like the invisible strings that they want pulled. It's just
Mhm.
like, hey, you'll do what we're not telling you to do,
Mhm.
but you'll do it, right? And
Yeah.
if you're not going to do it, we can fire you, and we'll make it look bad, and look like real bad, and it'll be shitty for everyone.
Yeah. So I'm okay with it now because
Mhm.
even if it isn't a race related thing, it's still a theme that is throughout the whole movie.
Correct.
People being like, you're not useful anymore, you gotta go.
Mhm.
And the only reason
And-
we got to this point was me saying it was an inconsistency for me that it got to that level with Amanda Waller, because she very clearly is like ahead of the game in most cases. It would be like, well, you guys
Mhm.
aren't being useful to me, you're out.
Mhm. And yeah, the like thematically too, I and this is why I bring up morality checks, is like multiple characters. James Gunn makes multiple points of bringing up like, hey, even with the King Shark character and Ratcatcher, it's like, hey, would you eat your friends? I don't know. I've never had friends. Like, okay, you can understand why he would eat Ratcatcher in her sleep then.
Mhm.
And then he Ratcatcher reasons with King Shark, or like, what's the actual name that they?
I don't know.
But I mean, like, it's kind of cool that they keep saying that, not King Shark. But either way, that she has to reason the morality aspect with him, and I'm just like, okay, I feel like this movie is always just looking at where morality is for certain characters, and for the characters in that room, the consensus was like, hey, if the morality was like, if these suicide god people have achieved the goal, and Amanda Waller doesn't care, and they still want to go ahead voluntarily to go ahead and kill Starro and save the rest of these people, then they should be able to go ahead and do that. Versus Amanda Waller's just like, hey, it's just my interest. I want to cover this up, and that's it.
Well, no,
Right?
it's more than that. It's the
It's
whole
just
system falls apart if you
Mhm.
let them just go do what they want to do. You have
Mhm.
to have it in place where it's like, it's just what I am saying you should
Mhm.
do, or else your head blows up.
Yep.
Once you let them be like, oh, okay, fine, I guess you made a choice for yourself, the
Mhm.
whole system falls apart.
Oh, it does.
And I'm
It
not
does
saying
fall
I
apart for
like
sure.
that. I'm just
Mhm.
saying it isn't just Amanda Waller being like, no, they didn't listen to me. It is this whole thing is predicated on, because she obviously has people that agreed to let her do this. So if they
Yes.
see, oh, they don't have to listen to you,
Mhm.
she loses stuff. Like it's
100%.
it's all, yeah. So I don't think it's just, oh, she didn't like that they weren't. It is people. Yeah, it's what we've been talking about. Like,
No.
there was a whole system that everybody
Yeah.
agreed to, and then
Mhm.
someone decided, well, this doesn't work for me now. So then
Mhm.
Amanda Waller gets taken out.
So, but my thing is only this. Okay, I felt like the only point of the mission was to destroy every trace of Project Starro, right? Or including Starro itself. I thought that was the mission.
No, the
Or no,
mission was
just to
don't
destroy
make
the
just make
evidence.
sure that, yeah, just make sure no one knows America was a part of this.
Mm.
She like that is so this that's what's good about the movie, is you
Mhm.
came away thinking that was our mission, but they make it very clear
Mhm.
she had missions within missions.
Mhm.
So there's the first group that think like, oh, we're just taking out this army because of whatever, and then there's the second group that's thinking, oh, we just have to take out Starro, and then there's the one person Peacemaker being like, it doesn't matter about Starro, I just
Mhm.
need the records that show that we were part of this,
Correct.
and clear that, get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Because Amanda Waller says, I don't give a fuck. Like, you
Mhm.
just, if everyone in this country dies, that's even better. They're not even our ally anymore.
Mm.
So it wasn't about, oh, we need to protect the world from Starro. It was just like, if Starro happens, but at least no one will be able to tie this to the States.
Yeah. No, I knew the real mission was that, but it's just like, at the same time, what I'm saying is that mission, the real mission at that point, had been accomplished already. Why not at that point Amanda Waller be like, sure, if they are truly expendable, we'll let them go ahead and go for it anyways.
Well, it's because of what I just said.
Yeah.
The whole thing only works
I get
if
that.
people recognize they only do what she says.
I get that. Fair.
Yeah. it doesn't work if it's like, well, sure, you make a good
Yeah,
point.
they
You can do it.
accomplished side missions. Cool. They can be used for good too. Yet nope, it's just like to cover up dirty slime stuff.
It
Yeah.
only works if it's what she said, and
Mhm.
I'm not saying what Amanda Waller says because it's Amanda Waller. It's just whoever's in charge. It only works if they do what whoever is in charge says to do.
Yep.
They don't have any wiggle room here.
Yeah.
So that's why, and ultimately, this is the downfall of trying to make a movie about villains, right? Like, you get into these things of like, why not just do this, or why? It's not a good guy story.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not like why. You're right. There is that's very, very heavily why not do. Yeah, fair.
Yeah, this is a movie about bad guys. I think that's why this is such an improvement on Suicide Squad from 2016, that the movie is aware that these are the bad guys, so you can't really bring it down to moral compasses.
Yeah, and I like, well, there are degrees of it, because it's just like with Ratcatcher stories, like it's like, yeah, rob the bank with rats and all that kind of stuff. It's like, but they said the rats were like dangerous biohazard weapons or something like that, and I'm just like, yeah, the way they defined it really screwed her over, versus like they didn't even bother trying to understand that. They were just like, you're dangerous and we don't understand, so you're in this
she still robbed the bank.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
versus
this
what
movie,
Weasel did was like eat 24 children, or
he ate children,
like children and stuff like that. But like one of those nice little elegant touches is like the team was like, did anyone bother to read if like Weasel could swim or something like that? And Minawala was just stone faced. I don't care. It's like, I didn't care. Like, they were here to achieve a mission. Like,
no, she cared. She was like, fuck. Like, she was upset. She wasn't stone face. She was like, fuck, what, you didn't, why didn't you check that? Yeah.
See, I did not. Well, see, I thought the rat thing was a total fuck up, though. But I thought the Weasel thing was just like, meh, whatever. But I thought the rat thing.
I think it's only her upset because it's like that could detract from what they're doing if they then start trying to save Weasel, which is what Savant does.
Yes.
It's just, she's just lucky that, again, it's just a bunch of bad guys. So what do they care if Weasel drowns? They'll just keep moving. But I do think that she recognizes that could potentially throw them off, especially if this was a timed thing, because it does seem like it needs to be timed in a way where they're getting killed off while the other team is doing something. Because I think even at one point Bloodsport says, what the hell was that explosion? It's just, don't worry about it. Like, it's cover. Let's go. Yeah. So I think it was important that like something like that doesn't happen right away and throw off the timing of it. I don't think she was like worried for Weasel.
Right.
But yeah, I think the movie, I guess we could go through the characters. I did like the Bloodsport and Peacemaker stuff. I'm always a sucker for father relationship stuff, like his relationship with his, I should say, Bloodsport's relationship with his daughter, and how she's like, you really only care that I got caught stealing, not that I was stealing. He's like, I mean, you got caught, but you got caught stealing stupid shit. So yeah, I'm even more pissed off. And their whole fuck you match to like end the scene.
That was hilarious.
Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm digging this. I like this a lot.
I like that a lot.
But I guess it was
so well.
It was parents in general, because obviously the other character is Polka Dot Man, who basically only can do what he does because he imagines that he's hurting his mom, which I appreciated a lot. Anytime someone would turn into his mom, it was great.
It was just great. And I love that it was just like just a random person that you can be like, I can seriously see this being such a abusive thing, especially the way he described it. Like, it was not
right, because she was trying to be she was trying to make superheroes, and she killed off some of his siblings.
Yeah, multiple siblings, and like did it multiple times. Some were successful, some weren't. And yeah, it's what they say it was, a time vortex,
it's an
interdimensional virus or something like that. You can't catch it. I thought legitimately the way they were going to win was he was going to throw up in his eye. I legitimately thought that was how they were going to win, was he was going to get the virus all bundled up, and then he would just like, they're going to, I wouldn't say fly, or just somehow like knock the Starro down, and he would just vomit in the eye and win by accident. And have the El Diablo moment where it's like, I didn't know you were overpowered, but in this way, it's just like, I didn't know it was that destructive. Like, I want to see the patch of grass that he threw up on and like how big of a hole it made at that point. But like, like that's legitimately how I thought they were going to win. But he was a fun character for sure.
Yeah, I really liked him. Yeah, Peacemaker turning out to be the bad guy was a good idea. Like, well, they're all bad guys, I know, but for the purposes of this movie, he was going against them. He knew that the whole time, that their tasks were not aligned in that way. So I don't really have much to say about him other than I thought he was great. He worked everything he did worked for me.
Great portrayal of that character. Really loved when Rick Flag found out that he was the person with the side mission and all that kind of stuff to make sure the mission goes through and all that kind of stuff. Because like the sense of betrayal in Rick Flag's face, to me, there, he felt like, it just genuinely felt like, wait, you mean Amanda Waller didn't safeguard me here like she did in the first one? Like, you know, I noticed how in this one she didn't say to anyone, there's like, if Flag goes down, everyone else goes down. She was just like, no, the mission needs to get done, and like didn't safeguard.
Well, she was already sending him to die. So that was the whole point, was that he was going to die.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was still there, I guess, she was like, well, fine, because they were sent to save him, right? Yeah. But even in that, I think she was like, let's take out some of those insurgents. Like, I'm sure that will be good as well if we take some of those people out.
And to be clear, they only got away with that because like the signal was down that fucked up Amanda Waller's like observation thing.
Right. Well, she couldn't really communicate with them
or see what they were doing or anything like that. So it was like, that was very, very effective, by the way, of like being like, why are they doing this and not just straight going for this mission? Why is all the side stuff happening? And it's just very effective.
She did send them, but you're right. I think overall they were able to do a bunch of different stuff because she couldn't keep tabs on them. Yeah. And I did I liked Rick Flag in this one better. Mostly because he seemed way more relaxed, and makes sense if this is like just another round with a Suicide Squad. So, but overall, the actor just seemed way more into it this time. He didn't seem so tense and angry.
Yeah, it made sense. Well, I mean, his dialogue was a lot better. It was lighter atmosphere and everything like that. It just worked better. It was, and he wasn't the only serious character within the whole thing too, so that really helped out, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he just seemed like he was having, like, the character, not the actor, was having fun as well. Like by the time you catch up with him and he's with Alicia Braga's character, you're kind of like, yeah, like he's just living his life now. And I like that while he sets up a little, obviously he doesn't think they're gonna die, but like, what I like about Suicide Squad of like, there's a distraction and then they go in and do the real thing. He sets that up for Alicia Braga's character. He's like, you know, if they all had to leave, that would leave their version of a White House, I guess.
The general's war room. Let's say
the war room. Sorry, not White House, but the war room. It would leave that open for you guys, and I'm like, see, like, this is a good use of that theme and filtering it throughout different versions of that. I really appreciated that attention to that. I guess that leaves us with Harley, I think. No, well, we can do
that leaves us with
first.
Many other characters.
Ratcatcher 2.
Many other characters.
Wow.
Ratcatcher 2 was
people who like actually have an effect on the movie.
Oh yeah, Ratcatcher 2.
Yeah,
very, very easily like the heart and soul of this movie. You know what I mean? It's just like,
and Sebastian. I really liked Sebastian.
Sebastian
is her rat.
Oh, right. I was like, wait, which character, because I felt like this is like that Milo moment, or what was the moment that
Milton.
Harley had? Milton. It's like we had a guy with us named Milton, and it's like later on, it's like your name's Milton. It's like no, it isn't.
Yeah.
No, she was great. I loved it. I loved realizing, oh, that dad is Taika Waititi. This is great.
Mhm. Well, I just like the idea that we're way at the end of her story arc now, but the idea that like one of her last, or at least a fond memory of her and her dad, was the dad being like, well, I use rats because obviously if something like this can have purpose in the world, then
So do we.
yeah. I just like that, and I like how
Mhm.
she cries when she brings the rats to get rid of Starro. It
Mhm.
because I wasn't really a fan of Starro. I know everyone really likes the third act, but I was just kind of like, nah, I'm not like. There's
What-
one Starro story I like, and it worked better as the like animated series, like 20 minutes at a time thing. But like,
Mm.
and I know that this was probably only 20 minutes of Starro here too, but I was just kind of like, I can't get my head around liking this. But I know he's such a big character for people and they love him, that I'm happy that it happened for people. But I was just like, I like that they were able to get the emotion in there, that she was letting her dad live on, or like making her dad proud in some way by using rats to take out this thing and save a bunch of people. I really liked that moment a lot. Obviously Harley had her javelin moment, but it was the rats going in there and actually doing the work, and showing their purpose in the world.
Yeah. Do you think the rats would have been able to pierce the eyeball without javelin though? Because that's how.
Yeah, probably, but slower.
Fair enough. Yeah, they would have been able to claw them way in because they are rats, and rats are great at that.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, rats do creep me out so much. Like,
yeah, I don't.
The
Like,
way
I was completely on Bloodsport's side of like, get them the
100%.
fuck away from me. Do not.
100%.
I like that she just like, no, he likes you. He's like, or when Sebastian offered Bloodsport the leaf, he's like, why the fuck would I want to leave? She's like, I don't know, just so that you know that he's not a threat to you. Like, I really like that. And then you find out why he doesn't like rats, and you're like, yeah, that's a big deal.
That's very valid. I'm like,
that's not just, oh, I find them creepy. It's like, no, my dad put me in a box of rats to punish
starving rats after he kept fucking.
So they were obviously eating away at him.
Yeah. And that's just like, oh my god, yeah, that's and I like the reason why it's like, why didn't you know this about him? It's like, well, because you're my enemy. Why would you know? Why would I let my enemy know anything about my vulnerabilities? And
well,
like,
you said I'm an assassin. Why would I give away my liabilities?
Yeah, and it's like that's just like, yeah, that's great. That's so effectively done. Dialogue can just
why would he ever give up something like that?
Why would I give that away? It's true.
Yeah, because the team was like,
big of an issue,
sorry, he's scared of rats and you put him with Ratcatcher, and he's like, yeah, why the fuck would I tell you anything I'm afraid of?
That was so well done. I liked it. Ratcatcher, yeah, having that just I like how like they're just.
I thought they were gonna do something with how she slept all the time, but I guess that was just the thing.
Well, they kind of did. It was just an ongoing joke, just running joke.
Well, that's not doing anything with it. It's just, we get the joke the first time. He's just like, how heavy of a sleeper are you? And she's like, oh, I was just having a good dream or whatever. I thought it was going to be connected to like she's tired from using her rat powers, but I guess it really is just that device. It's nothing inherently that she does with it.
I thought they said that she had to like learn how to do it. Her dad,
but it's the device still.
Do it, but like, isn't it like mind control plus the device?
Yeah, I mean, I was not looking for the movie to go into depth about why. It was just sense, it's just I thought that in this movie where it does feel like everything is being used effectively, the sleeping joke didn't feel effective to me. I was just like, like I get it, like they didn't even have to bring attention to it, like it, because really what they were getting out of that was humanizing, I think his name's Manawe, but I don't know, like King Shark was just like, how do we work with King Shark, because he could potentially eat any of us at any time. We didn't need to be like, oh, just because they did it and they kept going with it, like she was constantly sleeping at like certain times and they would have to wake her up. I was just like, oh, is this going somewhere? And then it didn't really go anywhere. I was just something I noticed.
Yeah, it's just a character continuity is like, oh yeah, this character sleeps a lot. Of course, she would sleep on the bus. Of course, she would sleep here. Of course, she would sleep here. Of course, she would sleep here. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Cool, whatever.
But yeah, I really liked Ratcatcher because
Hmm.
she did have moments where she wasn't really doing the moral thing. Because like, even when she had the records, when Peacemaker's about to kill her, she's just like, just destroy the thing. Why would you need to kill me? Like, there's no point in
Yeah.
killing me. And I know that that wasn't gonna that wasn't going to change his mind, but I liked her reasoning wasn't like, come on, please, like, don't do this, she was just like, just destroy the thing, like, don't be an idiot, you don't have to kill
Yeah.
me, like,
And
if it's
straight
destroyed
up,
you don't have to
yeah.
worry about anybody.
Yeah, and straight up, if your name is Peacemaker, then like you've already got this thing. Keep the peace. Like you destroy it, then, and then your mission's done, and then I have no credibility.
Yeah,
Boom.
but he's right that, well,
He is right, it's a
if you're
loose end.
thorough, like, yeah, she can still say something, so you got to kill
Yeah,
her.
for sure.
Again, in contrast with Suicide Squad 2016, it didn't come down to like, come on, like, we're friends, just do the right thing. She was just like, you could just destroy this thing and your mission is complete. Like, I don't see the need in killing me as well.
Hmm.
She wasn't appealing to like, come on, look at how much time we spent together. Like, it was more just like, isn't it easier to just get rid of this thing and not focus on killing me?
I like
Uh,
how she didn't try to do the friendship thing.
Yeah.
Call
Or
back
like,
with
hey, do the
him.
right thing. She didn't even
Yeah.
she was just,
No
I already know
sense.
what
It's
you want
like,
to do, so just do it.
I'm pleading to just basic logic. It's just like you already accomplished your mission. Just like you don't need to actually do this. But his logic is thorough.
Well, it's
based on
consistent with his
Amanda
character. He's like, I
Waller's,
don't care what.
extent. Yeah, because he
Well, I
says
mean,
man, woman, and child. How
yeah, he
many
said,
men, women, and
anyone
child
can
I
get
will
it.
do to keep peace.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
doesn't
like,
matter.
yep, it's such an at odds thing. I do like the joke about like the toilet scenes. Like, it's not a toilet seat; it's a beacon of hope.
Well, I didn't really care for that.
It was just so funny. I'm like, it does look like a toilet seat. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ratcatcher is great.
And I guess, yeah, we can talk about King Shark. I forgot. I really like the scene where he was
Mhm.
connecting with like the those creatures in underwater. Like,
Stallone, yeah,
because
and other dumb brainless friends or something like that. He said, and
I
they were
don't remember him saying that, but he could have. Yeah, I just saw it as like, it was mostly, I saw it maybe you're right, maybe that was the intention, is they're just as brainless as me, but for me, I just saw it as the whole movie people are shitting on him and they're talking shit to him. This wasn't a moment for him to connect with a being that wasn't going to talk shit to him.
Yeah,
he would act like, and so without using language, which he's not that strong with anyway, they found a way to communicate, and that was important to him. And I like that moment was really, I really liked it. And I mean, it's even better that they turn on him after the fact, but it's just like, in that moment I was like, this is a really nice moment, and it didn't feel like we were wasting time. It really was like, because I felt like they really are building it, like, even to the point where he's like, oh, I'll use a mustache to hide, and they're like, that's stupid, and then he goes like, fuck. Like, I was like, that was another big moment, because I know that it's funny that he said fuck, but it's just like, look how frustrated he is. He's trying so hard and they're just like knocking him down every time.
Yeah.
And I saw that more of like I felt bad for him, like the frustration he must feel, being like, come on, like, what do I have to do to be a part of this team?
Yeah, especially because Amanda Waller gives him validation too. It's just like, because at one point, I forget which squad member says something like, "Hey, can we just get rid of him or something like that? Can we leave him behind?" And Waller's like, "No, he's your strongest member. Like, you got to take him. Like, why would you do that? It's dumb."
Well, she said, "Yeah, you can't get into Jotunheim without him.
Yeah,
you got him. You got to use him."
Yep. There's a reason I drafted him, so to speak.
I thought that I know that obviously there's comparisons to Groot, that makes sense.
Yeah, Groot and Drax fused together. That's what it basically
really
is to me.
Drax in him, but yeah.
Well, like, in the communication part limitation aspect, if you were like confused, if you were to combine Drax's vocabulary together with Groot's, maybe we stand a chance. But like that kind of thing, like kind of awkward teammate that's really really useful, but like socially awkward part of
Fair
the
enough.
team.
I just feel
Yeah.
like Drax isn't aware that he's socially awkward, whereas in this movie, it's very
Mhm.
clear that
Yeah,
Shark King is aware. Like
he's
they
aware.
even cut to him in the car when they're having fun in the club, being like,
Mhm.
I like. There was just so many moments where I felt for him. Like it wasn't just like, haha, like look at how dumb. It was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, he is not a part of the team the way that everyone else is. And so then it was nice to see him feel like he was part of something with those people, with the creatures underwater.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then they turned on him, and then he became part of the team. But like, it was just like, yeah, I really liked the Shark King stuff.
Yeah. So here's my question to you, and not that this really matters, but do you feel like the Tinker that's a result of one of the Starro experiments with the people that they captured is like, oh, cool, we can take their brains and put them in these things, and then like they'll be our pets or something like that, and then
No,
they have
I
to
thought
be
it was just
carnivores, or
that the guy had like eclectic taste. I don't know what that was.
Mhm.
I didn't even
I
remember Tinkerer
I
was
thought
in
it
this
was
movie.
right.
No, he's not. He's the thinker. He's the thinker.
Sorry.
And I
Not
didn't.
Tinker. Yeah,
I didn't remember he was in the movie. He had like no effect on me.
very very little for sure.
I get it that it's like he's the one that tortured Starro and basically made Starro, but I'm like, like it seems like Starro would have been a bad guy no matter what. So I don't really need this
Yeah.
thinker aspect of he like tortured him for
Well,
30 years. I was like,
yeah.
I mean, like it's fine. It's not like I would say get rid of Thinker in the movie, but as I just said, I forgot he was in it, and also the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, yeah, I don't really like. Good. I'm glad he was there. Like
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi is a good actor. It was nice to see
Hmm.
him, but I wasn't like, oh man, this is great stuff.
Yeah, for someone named the Thinker, he had very, very, very little impact on the whole events of the story. It was just like you're just told
Well, he has
what he's
impact. It's
done.
just it's all already happened.
Yeah, it's already happened, or you're just told of it. It's very, very
Yeah.
like it's a very ineffective use of the character. In my it is what it is,
Yeah.
but it's
Wasn't
very
bad enough for me to
effective
be like,
acting
this is a problem.
portrayal, but it's a good enough acting portrayal, but it's just like, oh cool, like that's what he looks like in the comics too. Is like this is great. But I'm like, wasn't it? I don't think people that are Thinker fans really would have been impressed with that, maybe, but I don't know.
I again, as I said, it wasn't bad enough for me to be like, this is a plot point I want to talk about. I just like, yeah, I don't care about him.
Yeah, it's just not as strong as it speaks to like, okay, this is how disposable characters are to this movie. It's like we just needed someone to add to the shock horror level and reveal about how bad this is. And yes, it is the American government that did this, like confirmed it is. I felt like it just needed to be that at the end of the movie, because there's so much of this shock throughout the movie where you're like, okay, at this point, you can't expect more gore to be shocking. You can't expect more, like from a storytelling standpoint, you're about to wrap it up. So at this point, having that curveball thrown at you was really, really, really effective. So I feel like he was just in service of that. And I'm just like, therefore, I feel Thinker or fans would be disappointed, but I'm not sure.
I think they would have been disappointed if it was played by a woman. I think they were just like, yeah, it looks like movies for the comics. It is a man playing them. Great.
I don't think you're wrong there.
Yeah. But that's a discussion that we had on Black Widow.
Right.
Right.
Go watch that episode or go listen to that episode. Sorry. Boom.
But I think, yeah, we haven't talked about Harley. I think I like what she did. I think this is another case of maybe a step down, not from Suicide Squad, but knowing what happened in Birds of Prey and being able to see the heights of what they can do with her there. And I say that only because I should say this ahead of time. I would gladly take more of Harley Quinn in this movie. So I'm not saying this to say they should have reduced her time. I think the way they set her up, it's like she's doing her thing, they're doing her thing, and it doesn't feel natural. Like anytime they would switch between the stories, it felt like, oh, I guess And I understand
Mhm.
that's part of the comic book aspect of it, but in
Mhm.
terms of storytelling through film, it does. And I've seen two reviews so far that speak to the same thing of it feeling a bit jarring that you kind of bounce back between the two of them.
Yep.
So as I say that, I'm not saying I wish there was more, but because it feels a little less organic and a bit more forced,
Mhm.
I am forced to realize like, yeah, I guess like they're playing her dumb. I don't ever feel like
Hold
she's
up.
outsmarting people.
So hold up. Here's my question. I feel like this. I with the whole Harley thing. A, she was on the B team. So Amanda Waller either didn't care or intended for her to be killed as a distraction for the
Hmm.
Bloodsport team. So there's that. Ends up getting captured when can't be seen. So like whatever happens there is naturally allowed to happen. Versus I felt like she would have been killed. So if the Bluetooth connection, let's say hyper Bluetooth connection was uh, on linked up. So I feel like there's a lot of that. Yeah, it's jarring, but also to me, I feel like yeah, it's a very jarring situation to be captured and then suddenly be dressed up, glamorized, and be made to be a trophy for this basically narcissist kind of like person that's like, hey, I'm acknowledging the fact that I am using you for political gains, but
Hmm.
also I am actually celebrating and love bombing you right now. And it's like this crazy jarring situation where I feel like it does a really, really great thing where it does do a continuity thing from Birds of Prey. It's like, hey, I'm looking out for red flags, and this is a red flag that I've
Hmm.
noticed. I do like that continuity, and I do like the reason why it happens and like how jarring the situation actually is to be abducted and all of a sudden glamorized to be like imagine being told like because we see our country sees you as the symbol of anti-Americanism and she never fights back against that. She's like you almost see her try to be like but I'm benefiting from the situation right now, so why would I? She just kind of goes along with it.
No, I do.
You're
I
right, she's
think
not
there's a beat.
manipulating.
I think there is a beat. The first time she hears it, she's like, "Yeah, cool." But then the second time he says it, the through line of that is finally someone's treating me like a princess. That's what she says in the car, like, "Oh, I'm a princess." And then when he
Yeah.
says, "You're the perfect match for me," she thinks because I'm a princess. And then when he's like, "No, it's because people think you're wild and like unruly." That's that's the hurtful thing,
Mm,
and that's not the red flag that makes her kill him, but that's she does react to that of like, oh, ouch, like
yeah.
I thought you liked me, like
Mhm.
it's more that he just likes the idea of like, yeah, who else better than like this anti-establishment person, which we know from Suicide Squad isn't really her thing. Like when she dreams of a perfect life, it is
Mhm.
perfectly within the capitalist like thing with a
Yeah.
kid and her husband. Like
So like
whether or
pick a
not she
fence.
still wants that,
Mhm.
that is when we see her true desires,
Mhm.
that's what she envisions. So to be told like, nah, you're still the shitty person that people are like, good, stick it to the man, I don't think
Like
that's what she wants to be saddled with. And
mhm.
I don't think she ever is like, oh, but I'm benefiting from this. I think it was initially he says and she's like, yeah, and then the more they talk and he still comes back to, yeah, and you're this shitty person that everyone will like because they know you're not part of American culture.
Mhm.
I think that hurts her, and then she's open to seeing the other red flags.
Mhm. See, one of the things I felt it as was Harley looking for love in another culture of people as well as in another person. And when she, like to
No, I don't
me,
think she's looking for love. I think she liked the
mhm,
compliments. I think she liked,
that's fair.
I mean, right away
No,
she says, I'm
you're
a
right.
princess. I think she likes that
Mhm,
someone sees her that way, or she thought someone saw her that way. I don't think she's looking for love. She'll
mhm.
obviously
No,
have sex with them, like they do have sex.
you're right.
She's like down for that. I don't think she's looking for love at all.
You're right. She's not looking for love, but now that it was knocking at her door, was she open to the invitation? And I think she was for a moment. And then the part was like, oh, if he rejects me, even the people will like me or something like that. I played around with that idea a little bit, but you're right. It's just like it's. I think it's just the jarring aspect of being swept away and love bombed and being made into a princess and all this kind of stuff. it's a jarring experience, right? And
To be clear, I don't think that's what's jarring. I think
Mhm.
the jarring is legitimately like, hey, we've got this mission going on.
Mhm.
Let's cut to a love story. Let's cut back. Let's cut. That was what
Mhm.
people are talking about in terms of being jarring. It doesn't feel like, especially since that group doesn't
Mhm.
even think she's alive, so it does just feel
Right.
like two separate things.
It,
It's
oh, it
not
totally is
part of
two
it. So
separate
yeah,
things.
that
Yeah.
I think everything that happens is cool if the movie is about her, but that is
Mhm.
kind of how I felt. It's like, well, who is this movie about then?
Mhm.
It seems like we're serving two people now.
Because if it was continuously she was still a part of the squad, then it would be the love story, if there was one, would
Or it
be
would just be
within
how
the
she's
squad.
used, like she's
Yeah.
using him to get where she needs to go so that she can
Yeah,
accomplish the mission.
fair.
But I don't think the actual content of what she does is that jarring. It was more just like, oh,
No, I'm not
we're
saying the
doing a love
content
story.
of what she does is jarring. I'm saying the fact that she was swept up away, if the situation itself is jarring.
No, that's what I'm, that
Yeah.
we are disagreeing is what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
Mm.
I don't think that was jarring.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Mhm.
Obviously, we just see it different ways. I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
yes, we are definitely disagreeing on that. It's not
Yeah.
that it wasn't a semantics thing. It was we
Right.
are we
No,
are
I definitely see it a different way than you do.
yeah
I have a different
yeah.
take from that for sure. But yeah, Harley in this was, the javelin thing was funny,
Well,
the whole
yeah.
way
So
through.
that
But I
was
appreciated the fact that she kept it and she kept using it and she kept like, "Hey, I got it again, I got it again," or something like. I appreciated that. It was kind of like her, like the mallet thing that she used that has. It was her signature for this movie. It was
mhm.
kind of fun. I liked it a lot.
But what I was getting at
Mm,
was I didn't feel that she was as evolved. Like she was more used
mhm.
for punchlines, like the Milton thing, like that she
Yes.
didn't know that, yeah, or that she thought Blood Sport's name was Milton, like
Mhm.
stuff like that. There are moments like when she's trying to figure out what the demonym for people from Corto Maltese is. Like that's funny because it's like, yeah, who you don't really know that. Sometimes you just have to look those things up when
Mhm.
she's in the pit. But there were certain things like when he's like, "Might I be Frank?" and she's like, "You might be." Like I'm like, is that her joking around or is that like just funny dialogue that shows she doesn't understand what he's saying? Like I didn't think in this movie it was clear that she was in Birds of Prey. It's clear that if she is being dumb, she's acting dumb to get out of the situation or to get one
Mhm.
up on someone so they have less expectations of her. In this movie, I did not feel it was clear what was happening there.
Mm.
There was too many times where she would say something and I'm like, what? Like this isn't the person we just saw in Birds of Prey that was like, hey, fuck you. Remember, I've got like a PhD. Like I know what I'm
Mm.
doing.
No, in this one, it was definitely clear that they wanted to show you like she is legitimately crazy. Like the Joker legitimately got her crazy with all the shit that he did to her and all that kind of stuff, right? But
Yeah, but I
have
feel like that's been
throwbacks
clear in
to that.
every other iteration too.
Yes, yes, for sure. But like in this one, this was like, okay, an extent, maybe an evolution, I don't know, but it was clearly there. But I felt that particular dialogue was more of like Harley making a joke and him reacting in a way that didn't even care what she was going to say. Like I don't even feel like I don't even care. Like it felt like she was doing the joke. But that character in real life being the narcissist that he was right there was just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna love bomb you right now and throw more and more love at you. To kind of knock you off your feet or do whatever or get you to say
That's
yes.
great for his
Yeah.
character. I'm talking about her character though. What I'm saying is that like
Yeah, I just feel like it was a
that
situation where
but there's
people
two people in the
usually
scene,
I get
and in
that.
that sense you're saying that like it's there to highlight what he's doing, but what I'm talking about is still has an effect on how I see her.
Fair. But I mean, like it's hard to, because basically you're talking about a character at that point. It's like, hey, whatever you're gonna say, I'm gonna tell you like you're beautiful, you're a princess, you're this, you're this, you're this. And then even because I'm trying to play a game of tennis with you, you're being a brick wall. So it's playing tennis with a brick wall. I can't win. That's how I saw that scene. Is just like she's seeing those red flags and building up and being like, wait, you're not even engaging with the dialogue that I'm putting out there, or even the joke to match my level or something like that. That's how I legitimately saw that scene playing out.
Okay.
I felt it was intentional, but he was being like, from the love bombing standpoint, just being like, yeah, I'm not even seeing you as a real person. I see you as a trophy to win over, and this is how I win you over. So engaging with you is pointless when all I need to do is just give you love, give you the castle, give you the princess theme, give you everything, and not shut and be careful that I don't stumble in that act. Unfortunately, he does when he's like shows his true intentions of what he wants to do. And then that's when she's like, no, 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 that's the limit of my morals. You're gone.
Yeah. I didn't see it that way, but it's good that you did. I think that means that obviously that means other people can see it that way, but I don't think the movie did a good job of making it clear that's what she was doing. I think the movie does leave enough room for me to believe that she's just like, whether or not he just thought it was funny dialogue, it leaves room for me to be like, just like, what? Why is she saying it that way? Like, or why is she doing these things? But it is really good that that's how you saw it, that she was setting him up with a trap with her words. I didn't see that, but that obviously means that other people will see it that way, which is good.
Yeah, because I mean, like, she even says it's like, hey, I promised myself to look out for red flags for the next guy. And like, to me, I feel like that's someone that's like, hey, just from a recovering from love situation, because recovering from Joker, you got to question like basically every single thing. It's like, hey, yeah, that's the thing that I can't do again. The murderous rampage. That's a red flag. Peace out, buddy. You're gone.
Yeah, that part makes sense to me. It doesn't seem like it's connected to the other thing you were saying, but it's good. Is that everybody? I feel like that's everybody.
That's everyone. I guess of the core aspect of it, of the accessory people, I felt like they were used very, very effectively. It's just like there are certain people where you're like, they got this person to be in this movie, they got this person to be in this movie. And who's this person gonna play? And like, there's like, you know, like the B squad of the Suicide Squad that just gets killed off right away. You're just like, because they're so heavy in the promotional material too. It's kind of funny. It's really, really funny because you're just like, this is what's great about this movie. It's shocking, it's jarring, it just wipes it all off the map. Like the Javelin guy, like I don't know what his backstory is. I don't care, but apparently, like, he's this like giant YouTube guy that's really, really, really hated. And I'm like, this is interesting. I didn't know
what
that.
The character?
No, the actor.
No, that actor's just an actor. Like he's in Pitch Perfect movies. That guy's just an actor.
Really?
Not a YouTuber. No. Flula Borg, that guy's just an actor.
Okay, that's interesting.
He might have done something on YouTube that people don't like, but he's not a YouTuber.
Interesting. Okay, I gotta see where that information is coming from.
Yeah,
but either way, but like there are people that apparently, as Stacy recognized, that were like, this is this person. I'm like, okay, that's where I got that YouTuber coming. But yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a straight up actor. That if he has done something on YouTube that people don't like, that's one thing. But I would not classify him as a YouTuber.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this movie was just really just understood the purpose of what Suicide Squad meant, and it still generously gave us a drinking scene.
A what?
A drinking scene. You know, a party, like, oh, like there's 2 hours between now and when he's showing up. We're already here. What else are we gonna do? Let's have some drinks. It's such a fun excuse way of giving us the bar scene of like, instead of like, oh, we're giving up, let's have a pep rally talk. It's just like, well, what else are we gonna do? We're bad guys. Let's have some fucking drinks and party. And they do that very, very effectively here, where it's just a lot of fun. It makes sense much, much more than the other one.
Well, I disagree with that. I think the other one made sense as well. That's them defeated and drinking away their thing. But
yeah, the other one makes sense.
Probably
as well.
works better
like
for you
one,
here,
though.
But
it does in the tone of this movie, where it's like everything's more lighthearted and fun.
Yeah,
and just adventure feeling. It's
great.
great.
But I think both of them work. It's just one of them is supposed to be more fun than the other.
Correct. And this one achieves that, the fun aspect of it, very, very well, without distracting away from the movie in any sense. It's like it all makes sense within the movie. It explains itself very well.
Yeah, I think both of them do. Uh, so yeah, that's I don't remember anything. Well, yeah, there's the post credit scene. So Weasel is still alive. That's
Yay.
good. He didn't need to swim. He just
Yeah.
need to be brought back on land. So he's good. And
I just felt like that was just like, oh yay, this is a deep cut joke for him playing a weasel out of this whole thing. And I'm like, this is hilarious.
and then the second post credit scene is Peacemaker is still alive, and
Yeah.
the people that knocked out Amanda Waller are now in charge of him as a punishment.
Yeah.
I didn't really get the punishment part of it. Seems like losing your job and livelihood would be more of a punishment, but I guess working with him would be stressful now that you know what he's fully capable of.
Yeah. And also the idea of like, I do want to know how that's a punishment because I'm like, okay, this is obviously a setup for the show. That makes sense. And like, oh, who's going
I
with
thought
him
it
to
was
the show?
confirmed that it is a prequel, and like I think really what this is a setup for, or it would be a shame if I don't mean ultimately. I just mean it would probably James Gunn would probably be bummed if like people rightfully guessed that like he obviously survives because he has got his own show, because yeah, like then this does just feel like a needless setup for the show, whereas this feels like if the show is a prequel, I feel like then this really does feel connected to more of Amanda Waller like working out her issues. But who knows? Like it probably is not a prequel. I just I thought it was confirmed to be a prequel.
Is it? I didn't know. I didn't realize it was going to be a prequel. But I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense to set up whatever this is. So, do you think this is instead setting up his own solo movie?
I don't think it's a solo movie. It just means he's still alive, so you can still use him.
Fair. Yeah, whatever. And it comes with James Gunn's girlfriend.
Well, I don't think there's anything else to talk about this movie. I really liked it. I think that it's not perfect, but I still really enjoyed my time with the movie. And it was better for me than the trailers led on, because the trailers kind of made me be like, yeah, I'll watch it, obviously. But I thought like this did a good job. I can only say for myself, because I feel like everyone loved the trailers, of being like, oh wow, they didn't just put everything good in the trailers.
Yeah. This, because of the front loading of that scene and everything like that, it and how fast this movie just picks up and goes. It doesn't even try to hold your hand in this one. I feel like I was convinced that was the final showdown scene. So like being all the like the cuts from the trailer are distracting with those characters of like, this character does this, and all the promotional character material being like, oh, this person's getting an interview to talk about their character, and it's all distributed among the cast. It's all just like weird ways to distract you from like the overall, like, here's the overall fight, because when you see Starro, it's only like a few shots and all that kind of stuff,
right?
So it's very, very effective use of the trailer stuff this time versus in Deception, this time in the trailers versus the first Suicide Squad one, which was, I think they were very, very smart to do it that way. Because they're like, here's the deception is of the story. There's more story. But the last one, it's like, we actually sold you a different version of the movie than you actually got. This is the same version, but better. That one was like, no, we're selling you this version and you get this. So very well done. Very well done.
Agreed. Let's
time to rate it.
Yeah.
Time to rate.
I'm gonna give it a 9.
Yeah, we're doing 9 here.
I thought it was a very fun movie, and I've heard other people say it too. Like, it does make good use of the R rating. It doesn't feel overdone.
Yes,
it doesn't feel like they're showing off with it. It just feels like it fits, and I felt the same way about Birds of Prey. Like that, it's just like this is how you do R-rated comic book movies.
Yeah, some people are saying it's overly gratuitous, but to those people, I say this is a story about villains. Of course, they're going to choose the most gruesome way of doing things, and this is also James Gunn.
I agree.
Fun with this kind of content, so you get what you get. It's kind of like going into a Deadpool movie, being like, "I didn't like all the cussing," and I'm like, "You don't know the content."
No.
That's why. But
But yeah,
those people are wrong.
people who do know the content are the people at thatshelf.com. Other great podcasts such as Bad Game Movies, Black Hole Films, Changing Reels, Composers, there's a whole bunch of them. Please go there and you can find those shows. You'll find us as well. If you want to hear older episodes, please go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. Our Twitter is at tdfspoiled. Our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public. Please go there, rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. If you don't find us on whatever podcast app you use, please let us know through Twitter or through email, and let us know what you thought of the movie and other things we've talked about.
Yep.
Excellent. Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.